So your child was doing fine in math, maybe not top of the class, but steady. And now their grades are dropping quite suddenly. No obvious reason. He or she has been going to the same school, pretty much the same teacher throughout the year. So what has changed? So this video will uncover 6 different possible reasons, which might be surprising and overlooked reasons, why your child's math grades might suddenly tank, even if they've always been this math kid. So usually parents will reach out panicking about their kid's math grade, and they ask, why? Do I know why their math grades are dropping? And I just calmly tell them, it depends. And the mother, oftentimes it's the mother that reaches out. She would ask, depends on what? To that I answer, on a lot of things. But let's start with this. Are all of his grades slipping or just math? Because if so, the problem isn't most likely academic. It is actually biological. What I mean by that? Hormones. Because when we think about the grades dropping suddenly, this oftentimes happens when your child enters teenage years. And teenage years are some of the most radical transformations that you can expect to see, physically, emotionally, socially. So what used to interest them can suddenly feel childish or pointless, including math. So we cannot underestimate the role of puberty. This is also the age of rebellion. They might resist your authority only to follow their friends' opinions and could be pressured to do what their friends are doing. So in this phase, math might just get tossed out, just like with their childhood toys. How to wisely deal with your child's puberty phase, their erratic hormones, that's the topic for another video. So let's say your kid's going through puberty, hormones are running wild, but they're managed to get good grades except for math. Then we got to look at the second component that could be in play, which is the teacher. Math success is heavily influenced by who's teaching it and how the student feels about them. So there are 3 kinds of problematic teachers. First kind of teacher is those who don't know the subject. Yeah, not even qualified to teach that particular math subject. The second type of teacher is those who don't care about the students. I would even argue this is just as bad as the first one, if not worse. And the final type of math teacher that can be problematic for your kid is the teacher that the student just doesn't like. So, student doesn't like for whatever reason. So this is the case where even if the teacher is competent, the teacher is caring, there can be a personality mismatch that creates disengagement. So when a student likes their teacher, grades usually go up. And when they don't, well, it shows. So that's one thing to look for. Now, the third reason we look at is content change. Math is not one continuous road. Let's say it's a road. So we got algebra, we got geometry, we got precalc, calculus, but it's not continuous like this road that I'm drawing. It's a series of different terrains. So let's say algebra is the lowland, and then we enter a big mountain called geometry, and then we kind of plateau out into this pre-calc, and then we enter the jungle of calculus. A bunch of trees that I'm drawing right now, attempting to describe a jungle. So and this is algebra. So one big terrain shift, quote unquote, that your kid most likely will go through is this geometry, the transition from algebra to geometry. This can be a jarring experience because geometry, unlike algebra, is visual, is proof-based, is ancient, and unlike anything students have seen before. Or consider something like probability. You can't just plug answers into a formula like algebra and check them. You have to think logically and abstractly. So if your child's grade dipped during one of these transitions, also in calculus as well, it's not necessarily a reflection of their ability. It might just mean they need time to adjust to a new way of thinking. So remember, this can be, so same subject, but requires different thinking skills. Now we move on to the fourth reason, which is calculator reliant. So we're talking about students that have overly relied on calculators, so they're not able to do basic arithmetic in their head, even the ones getting A's in math. And this is getting very prevalent in today's education. And it's not necessarily the calculator's fault, but it's how the student uses it. You know, right now, too many students don't understand numbers. They just input it into the calculator. Boom, 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 boom. So tell your kid to multiply 0.2 times 0.2. Can they do this without a calculator? This weak foundation eventually cracks under the pressure of higher math, even if everything seems fine for a while. Which leads to my fifth reason: weak foundation. If your student is not strong in basic arithmetic, basic foundations, it's going to be a problem because math is cumulative. It builds layer by layer. Cumulative. So when students hit a wall in Algebra 2 or precalculus, the root problem often isn't in what they're learning now, but it's something they didn't fully understand a year ago. So this leads into our final reason: abstraction. Ability for abstract thinking. This leap happens once they learn pre-calc, calculus, concept of limits, infinity. Oh, that's a terrible infinity. Hold on. Infinity. There you go. This isn't about plugging numbers into formulas anymore. It's about understanding concepts that we cannot see or count. So high school students are suddenly asked to do what even supercomputers cannot, which is to solve infinite problems in time pressure. These type of problems calculators cannot help anymore, and memorization stops working. And if a student has not developed abstract thinking skills yet, this is where the grades start to slide. So these are the 6 main reasons that I find in high school students. when they experience sudden drops in their math grades. Most of the time, the issues fit into abstraction, abstract thinking. And parents ask how they can overcome this issue. To that, I say any high school math can be taught to any motivated student. So if your child is struggling in math, it does not mean they're not smart. It just means there's a story behind their low grade, and it can be solved. So, hope this video helps your student, your child, rebuild their confidence in math.